Hi, greetings and welcome, fellow explorers, adventurers, industry layers, and farmers. Today we are going to be talking about Beyond 2.0, the update for No Man's Sky that came out on the 14th of August. Now, when this came out, it came out with a whole slew of stuff, such as farming for animals. You've got industry mining. You've got the Nexus, which I hope I'm pronouncing that Nexus, that gives you a whole load of multiplayer options as well. And it's just a total VR rework of the entire system. Now, the last video that I did on this was just like a first impressions. Basically, I just put the headset on, just played around in VR for a little bit because we love the good old VR, don't we? And then I just came on here a couple of days later after playing and just gave you my first thoughts or first impressions of what's been going on here. Now, over the past couple of weeks, I've sort of been on holiday, which was the greatest time. I think I picked the right time for my holiday just as this update came out, because I have been playing No Man's Sky constantly for for pretty much the past two weeks. So whilst most people were going on holiday to Gibraltar or Madrid or other places I can't pronounce, I spend my time in VR going on an intergalactic cruise, which is kind of one of my favourite sayings from an old Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy book. And there's this character that goes into a building called Zaphod Beetlebrox, and he goes in asking, say, Zarniwoop, where is Zarniwoop? Replies, I'm afraid he's in his office, sir. Okay, get me Zarniwoop. I need to speak to him. I need to speak to him now. I'm sorry, you can't, sir. He's currently on an intergalactic cruise. This cat's on an intergalactic cruise inside his office. Yeah, must be a really big office. No, sir. But with the new VR update for No Man's Sky, we certainly see where this is going. Because when you put the headset on, if you're going out for total exploration, you just want to go and visit planets, see what they're like, and just, or maybe even go off mining or such, this VR is just perfect for this, because you can go from like star system to star system, looking at planets, exploring them, and seeking out new life and new civilizations and all that sort of wonderful stuff. And it is just mind-blowing as I wouldn't say the level of detail, because as I covered in my previous first impression videos, the quality of the graphics isn't that great, and it's certainly not useful inside highly detailed areas, such as when you're doing full-blown base buildings. But for exploration, VR is great. However, in this video, we are not really going to just be talking about the VR element on here. We are going to be talking about all the other elements that are going on inside No Man's Sky. We are going to be looking at, as I said, the Nexus system, how the multiplayer works on the Nexus system. We are going to be looking at full-blown base building, all the new updates that they got for the base building, including the industry levels, such as surveying for mineral deposits, as well as putting down things like mining equipment and storage plants, and also connecting them all up, including with that, it's not just mining minerals. You've got gas mining as well as electric magnetic fields to give you unlimited bases. Yep, as I said about bases, been a lot of updates for bases. We're also going to be looking at farming as well, such as, because if you can farm animals, when I mean farming, I don't mean like the previous farming that we've been doing is just putting loads of crops down and waiting for them to grow and harvest loads of stuff. No, when we're talking about farming, we're talking about animal milking. You harvest animals and you milk them, and then you get extra products and such that goes along with that. But we'll be talking about all of this as we go through the base. So we're going to be looking at all of the different type of updates, all the new features, some hints and tips of what you need to be doing, and how to progress further going forward with this game, this update. Now, first of all, let's talk a little bit about base building, which is my personal favourite thing. First thing that you would have noticed is that everything's all red and nothing ever works in your bases. The reason why nothing works in your base is because your base hasn't got any power. Yes, it has introduced power in the forms of biogenerators, solar power plants, or magnetic field generators. Now, unfortunately, if you haven't surveyed a magnetic field near your base, the magnetic field power generators is off the option list. You can't use the magnetic field generators unless you've surveyed a nearby magnetic field. But what you do have is you've got biofuels, which I try to avoid to use because of the way that it just consumes so much energy. Consumes so much resources like carbon just to do an hour's worth of power, and then it's not going to stay active whilst you're away from it. So I prefer the solar power panels, even though they don't work during the hours of daylight. Sorry, strike that, not the hours of daylight, during the hours of darkness. They only work during the hours of daylight. You can put down enough batteries to hopefully double the amount of time that you can actually use with the solar power panels. For my example, I personally keep a whole load of batteries just so that the mining industry can keep on going whilst I'm off planet. However, there are loads of other stuff that you need to know and work about when you're trying to conserve fuel. Now, with this, you get a load of switches and also power inverters and sensors that will allow you to turn on and off parts of your base when you are not using them and when you need them. For example, the teleporters, or shall I say the hyperspace portals that take you from planet to planet, you only need when you're near them, because that's when you're only going to use them. If you don't need them, they're using up like 50 units of fuel. Same thing goes for like storage containers. You don't need them unless you're actually close to them. And there can be quite a few other things there as well. So therefore, what you need to do is you need to get you need to connect a power generator up to a battery that's on its own separate grid network, and then connect that battery to a motion sensor that will detect when you are there, and then when you are there, put out a signal to the areas that gives power to these items, so that therefore the teleporters will only work when you're near them, or the storage containers will only work when you're near them. So you've got to sort of keep a little area. It's a little bit extra stuff you need to worry about when creating your base, but they are easy enough to do, and they are working with it to try and see if we can improve these at the moment. So with the base updates, there has been a whole load of new stuff that you need to research. Now, from your general base computer, or on your general base, you've got your normal salvage blueprint analyzer, which you basically plunk in a load of salvage data, and therefore you can start learning different things to create, which is all well and good, but these blueprint analyzers haven't as of yet been updated with all the new wonderful stuff, all the wonderful gizmos and gadgets. That is where you need to go to the Nixus. So if you haven't filled out everything that's in the blueprint analyzer, then you need to go up to the Nixus. Now, to get to the Nixus, what you need to do is you need to spawn it in. So hop into your aircraft, hop into your spaceship, and then fly up into the night sky. And once you're in space, you can drop down the menu and then summon it. Go over to the summon Nexus, or summon anomaly, as this is called, so that you can bring in the massive Nixus space station. Now, the Nixus space station doesn't take any load time at all to bring in, but it does do a crossover whilst you're landing from the universe you're currently in to the special area that's designed for the Nixus. Now, this Nixus is a central hub and can hold a lot of people. It can hold up to like 32 people for players, people on PC, or I believe it was 16 people for PlayStation 4. So this will be a central area where you'll find lots of people coming in, going, flying in, flying out, going to the shops and such. In the shops down the central area, you will have a large area that you'll come to, which will have all the different blueprints that you can possibly get. So as you go around the list, you'll have blueprints for like your starfighter. You'll have blueprints for your exocraft. You'll have blueprints for construction, and also you'll have blueprints for all sorts of things for all different levels. So it is a good idea to check out all the different types of blueprints that you got there. So I would then recommend for the next couple of hours is to go around exploring planets, trying to see if you can gather up as much salvage data as possible. So you just jump out to one planet, put on your scanner, and then scan for salvage data to try and get that. Now, one of the new blueprints, a couple of the new blueprints I highly recommend that are not down previously. One of them is the launcher, the launch refiller for your spaceship, which basically means that whilst your spaceship is sitting down comfortably on the ground, it will start filling up its the launcher from dihydrate particles in the air or something, which I think is an absolute lifesaver, because if you don't have that installed, and you run out of fuel, then you have to go around trying to see if you can find dihydrate. If you're on a planet that has it, well, all planets have dihydrate on it, but and then you've got to go craft some fuel. But with this, it saves you the problem of getting out and having to try and find more fuel from local resources. The next thing that I recommend trying to get is the scan analyzer. Now, the scan analyzer is what you need to go into the industry level of this section. Now, when you get the scan analyzer, you'll need to get it. I believe that it will be in the multi-tool, or either multi-tool or exosuits update. But once you get the scan analyzer, you can then go to any planet, and then when you bring up the normal scanner, you pull the trigger back to bring up the scanner, and then you select right, and it will go into a different type of scan mode, and it will scan for 3 separate things. Now, one of them is gas, one of them is mineral, and one of them is electric field. Now, gas is more often than not oxygen, but you can get nitrogen or radon or whatever it does from there. But the scales will be from C to S rank, and each rank is more of how much is actually deposited in that area. So if you've got an S rank oxygen deposit, then you'll find that you'll get a heck of a lot of oxygen from that one deposit, which is quite awesome, because you do need a lot of oxygen in that, especially in this universe, and being able to generate unlimited amounts of it is a good thing. Now, after the oxygen, as I said, you've got minerals, which can be one of the three primary minerals that will be assigned to that planet. So when you go to a planet and you scan the planet, and it says, okay, this one's got gold, silver, and copper. When you're down onto the surface and you find a mineral deposit, it will be one of those three. So you go around, you've got to find the mineral deposit. It'll tell you in what direction the mineral deposit is and how far away you've got to go. And when you're within like 3 meters of the actual mineral deposit, it will start analysing it. And then it'll say, right, this is exactly what the deposit is. Sorry, I forgot to say at the beginning, when doing the scanning, it doesn't immediately tell you what the type of object it is. It'll tell you the type, either gas, mineral or electric, but it won't say what it actually is until you're within 3 meters of the actual deposit itself, and then you can scan it to actually see what the mineral is. And lastly, as I said, was the electric field. Now, at the beginning of the video, during the base building section, I told you can build an electric field generator. What this can do, it generates energy for your base at a massive amount and constantly. So it works both day and night continuously. Now, my main base on Gamertag Worlds is in between 3 sections, in between 3 deposits. It's in between an oxygen deposit, a copper deposit, and an electrical deposit. And I was extremely lucky to get that. In fact, I think the game developers have just worked out that I may have cheated a little bit in getting that electrical deposit and can't really use it much anymore. But when you get that electricity deposit, you don't need to have to worry about battery farms or day-night cycles or filling up generators with carbon. It is a power plant to use to power your base, and you can use as many as you want, so you can build the biggest badass base that you can with that electricity without worrying about filling everything up with solar panels and such. So if you can get, say, a mineral deposit that's close to an electrical deposit or an oxygen deposit, then you've got to try and see if you can place your base somewhere in between them, because your base will only have like a radius of somewhere between 250 to 300 meters before it cuts out and says, no, you can't build there. So if you manage to get a mineral deposit in one area and an electrical field in another area, you have hit the jackpot. You have hit the jackpot, and you will be able to just mine it constantly as long as you can set that up. And yes, that is quite possible and does happen quite frequently. So that is what you need to really looking out for. It's no good just finding an electromagnetic field, but you've got to try and see if you can find something else you can pair it with. And they do seem to be working in sort of like a grid section. So as soon as you go far out enough away from it, you will start picking up the next nearest deposit, and then try and see if you can find an area between the two to actually start. Then going back to the Nexus, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Nexus. The next thing that you want from the Nexus is going to be the mining equipment. Yes. So you've got the mineral deposit, the mineral extractor, the gas extractor, storage units, and piping. So these are all the next few things that you need to get. So go back down to the planet surface, scan around for more salvageable data. You need to get like hundreds. Get hundreds. Just keep on getting them and just play the entire day, just scanning and searching for salvageable data. In fact, I think there are even some terminals on the planet's surface where you can buy it. So if you find any shops that buy it all up. So if you ever see any salvageable data, get it. Buy it up. Discover it on the planet's surface. Just get as much as you can. And when you've got enough, go back to the Nixus site and get those mining equipment. Because once you've got the mining equipment, you're going to be laughing when it comes to money or oxygen. So you've got the mining equipment, you've got the storage, you've got the piping. Next up is to set up like your base of operations. Now, if you want to make money, and I'm sure that you do, you can make an absolute killing with a mining operation in here. Such as if you go to an Indian planet. Now, if you can't go, Indian planets or active Indian planets are in blue systems. Now, if you can't go to a blue system because you haven't got an Indian drive yet, use your freighter. And if you haven't got a freighter, just jump round a couple of times until you get attacked by pirates, and then once you've gotten attacked by pirates, kill the pirates, and the freighter they were attacking will give you their freighter for free. How's that? So, right, you've got your freighter, you jump to a blue system, it's got active indium on it. Right, what do you need to do there? Set up a base, see if you can find an active indium deposit near electromagnetic field. That will be the perfect ideal situation. However, you might not find that. You might just find active indium deposits. So if you can only just find active indium deposits, that's fine. That's okay. Plunk down your base and just set up a whole slew of solar panels and batteries. As we can see up here on my game up here, I hope I'm pointing in the right direction. You will be able to see my current active indium planet, and you've got like like 20 or 30 different miners extracting minerals, and you've got hundreds of storage deposits. Now, the storage deposits is where you'll find you'll make your money, because if you've got one miner that's just mining the right way, but you hasn't got any storage so you can pull in, when you come back the next day, then you'll only have a small amount. So a good rule of thumb is to have at least like as many as you want. But I was going to say like 3 or 4 or 5, but to be perfectly honest, 3 or 4 or 5 per miner. But to be perfectly honest, just put in as much as you can, and then as you go on, try and balance it off by putting in more miners to speed it up. So when you come back to it the next day, you'll find that your storage deposits are absolutely full. The storage deposits don't at the moment require energy. Now, I know that they are flashing around with the lightning bolt symbols on it to make me think that they do need energy. And even when I connect energy up to it, the lightning bolts are still there. But even if left on their own, with only just a pipe connecting them to the actual miners, they will still fill up, and you can still take from them. So for me, that's a good thing. So that's a good thing. Right, moving on. As soon as you've gotten your active indium mining set up, you'll probably find that you'll make so much money from this. And as you can see from this setup that I've got here at the moment, I make approximately about 40 million a day. And I haven't really worked hard on this base. I just plant in a little bit here. If I really wanted to go out, I could just max out this base and I could make 100 million or whatever. I could just make so much money from this. But as I said, I've just left it at that for the moment, because if I start putting in too much, then it gets a little bit... it starts screaming at me because it doesn't like the fact that I put too much stuff in there. So even though I don't know if these bases are limited yet, but I know that the hardware that I'm playing this game on is limited, because it starts like getting frame rate drops, and when you start putting in too much, you get the frame rate drops, and it's pausing, and also everything starts not rendering in properly when I put too much in. Now, That brings me up to the refiners. The refiners have had a massive update on them. When I mean by a massive update, I mean as in a massive amount of stuff that you can put into them. Such as, let's just say, a large refiner you'll be able to put 999 stuff into them, but still only 1,023 items will come out, which is a little bit more than what it used to be. So with this massive amount that you can put in and take out being much higher than what it used to be before the update, it's certainly going to make a heck of a lot of things easier. So you could say this is sort of like quality of life easiness update to help us get around with doing all the extra stuff that you want, such as getting nanite clusters or such. What I mean by nanite clusters, so yeah, I was looking at videos on the internet the other day about how other people were trying to get nanite clusters, and I saw like this someone that was wandering around space station just trying to pick up like 15 nanite clusters here or 20 nanite clusters there, or going off to this cook to after making lots of big ingredients and making them a great big meal, and they get 40 nanite clusters. And I'm thinking, no, stop. That is just like scavenging around in bins trying to get scraps. No, you don't want that. You want to put stuff into a refiner and get 1,023, bam, straight off like that. There you go. Thank you very much. 1,023 nanites straight off the bat. And how you do that? Okay, you basically find a system that's wealthy, go into the market, buy up all the platinum, buy all the pugnum, or however you pronounce it, throw them into the refiner. 1,023 nanite clusters right off the back. And if you really wanted to go the long route by doing the goop, the green goop, I can't remember quite what it's called, but because if you get up all the green goop and you just throw that into the refiners, that takes a long time to actually refine. So whilst that's off refining, you go off, build your base up, come back to the refiner about half an hour later, see it's got to the next level, move it up until you finally get to your runaway mold, and then you put the runaway mold all in at once and then let that off, and then you've got another 1,023. But I personally think that buying up platinum and buying up pugnum, or going around killing sentinels, salvaging all of their pugnum to create a massive inventory load full of it, and then just throwing that all into the refiner just to get your nanite clusters, I think that's a much better way of getting nanite clusters than like scrolling around salvaging bins and such just to get the odd scrap here and there. So yeah, don't go scavenging for nanite clusters. Refine it and get a whole heck of a load of them for, well, just the price of a few million coins. Now, you may have just gotten a little bit worried when I just said a few million coins, and say, firstly, it's not really million. But I tell you what, when you get these mining bases set up and you sell off, after you come back to it after the first day, and you sell it off, and you get like 14 million from just sleeping overnight, from just going to bed and sleeping and waking up in the morning, turning it on. Hey, there's on my active indium, sell it on the market, 40 million, bam, bush, thanks, sorted. Yeah, you're not going to worry about money, because the new update has made it so easy to get money, especially with all this mining industry. And even going further forward, if that's not enough for you, you've now just got a fleet. You've got a frigate. If you've just been following what I've said earlier about jumping for about 6 or 7 times, saving a frigate, and then he's been so grateful he gives you his frigate for free. you can now start getting ships for your frigates, and you can send your ships out onto missions to be able to get even more money. In fact, just the other day when I just logged in, I started debriefing all of my captains of all the spare frigates, and that netted me a nice little £9 million right there, and then sending off all the equipment, sending off all the stuff through the terminal exchange, on the market, just selling all the stuff off. That's just netted me quite a few more millions there. Making money is not a problem. Making money is easy on here, so you don't need to worry about that. There are a few things that you do need to worry about, and these are my little tips and tricks for before Beyond came out, of how to actually craft a heck of a lot of base materials. So let's just say you want to build yourself a nice big base. So you're using square rooms, or my personal favorite, I like to use small square rooms, but they cost like 200 pure ferrite each, and it's just so much time to go around so much time to go around mining all this stuff. So you can actually mine it, or you can, if you've got Ladosh on you and you can find some wealthy stations, go up into the stations, buy as much as you can on there. But if we don't want to rely on that, if you want to have a way of creating your own, pure ferrite, so you can self-sustaining yourself, you would need an oxygen generator unit. Now, this technique that requires a lot of oxygen, and if you have an oxygen generator unit, or if you're on the industry level and you've found an oxygen deposit, make sure you're pumping out as much oxygen as you can from that deposit and then storing that in your backpack. Now, when you go out to the right, when you go to your base, you set down a couple of refiners, about 3 or 4 refiners, or as many as you want. You can even do it just with one refiner, but it has to be a medium refiner. Now, the first part of this is you put oxygen into one slot and you put carbon into the second slot, and that will net you a massive, I can't remember, it was like 1 to 3 or 1 to 6, but it will net you a massive amount of carbon, more carbon than you put in. So you're getting more carbon than what you put in, so you're generating carbon. So that's your carbon generator unit. Next up is to create ferrite. If you put in a recycler carbon, or should I say condensed carbon, plus pure ferrite, it will then convert it at a rate of, as I said, 1 to 3 magnetic ferrite. So you're creating more ferrite. So when you get the magnetic ferrite, you can refine that at a rate of 1 to 2. So 2 magnetic ferrite will create 1 pure ferrite. And therefore you will actually be generating or creating practically out of thin air pure ferrite. So yeah, that is quite literally out of pure air. Just from oxygen you can create pure ferrite if you have like the basic ingredients. And when I mean basic ingredients, I mean you can have something like 5 or 10 of each other type, but as long as you've got as much oxygen as you can pull in, you can be creating this lot, and you will be able to create so much pure ferrite. And with that pure ferrite, you can just create box room after large room after room. So you just basically make hundreds of thousands of pure ferrite, and then you can build to your heart's content once you've got that. Another thing that I certainly recommend building is the biodome filled with frost crystals, because with frost crystals you are going to need, because you're going to need to be building glass from those frost crystals to help construct your the glass buildings or the glass areas in your base. Which also, other things that you need to mine when you're going out doing the harvesting, or when you're looking for bases to set up, you're going to try and need to see if you can set up a silver and gold mine. Now, at the moment of doing this, gold mines haven't actually worked yet. I mean, I placed down a gold mine, or a mine on a gold deposit after surveying it, and it isn't actually working. It's just showing up as 0.0-0 storage, so I can't actually seem to mine gold at the moment. Hopefully they do fix that. But you can mine silver. Actually, to be perfectly honest, I haven't really tested mining silver yet. I have actually just found a silver deposit, a general deposit from the normal scanner, and just front down automatic miners around it, and just got as much silver as I need from that. And you can do the same thing with gold deposits as well. Gold deposits work properly if you just put down a couple of hundred, well, not a couple of hundred, so about 5 or 6 automated miners around mine deposits, gold deposits, and then you can get they will fill up over time, and you just have to make sure you relieve them of their cargo before leaving the planet. Because if you leave the planet or go too far away or wait too long, the stuff inside these automated miners will disappear. And I do think that is a bug that's ongoing with No Man's Sky at the moment. But that's why I certainly recommend the mining industry storage deposits and mining platforms are much more superior than the automated miners, simply because they don't disappear. When you go away and you come back a day later, they will be full of all the stuff that you're mining. So if you can get if silver mining works, go for a silver mine. If it doesn't, go for a silver deposit. But until gold mining actually works, go for gold deposits at the moment. Right. Okay, so we have talked a little bit about mining. We have talked a little bit about the base building. We haven't yet talked much about the Nixus and the multiplayer section on that. So, as I said, the Nixus hub is a massive hub, and you have got so many things that you can do within there. Firstly, when you land, you'll be greeted with this massive landing area, depending on what type of system you're using, or system. I mean, like if it's a PlayStation 4 or if it's a computer, it will be either filled with ships and people running around doing stuff. Now, straight off on that landing platform, you have got a giant sort of holographic cube, which if you walk up to and start talking to, will give you missions. Now, when you get these missions, you can wait for a bit for other people to join you. Then you can hop into your spaceship, and when you launch from your spaceship, you will be in the solar system where the mission is. So then you just need to follow the markers to where you need to go. And then once you've completed the mission, or if you want to abandon it, just land back on the anomaly, and then you'll be returned back to civilization when you next leave the anomaly, that is. So, I mean, so far I have seen hunting monstrosities, hunting monstrosities, killing off hazardous vegetation and a couple of others, but I haven't actually seen any base building yet. The missions do seem to be a bit random at the moment, so I haven't really seen too much of what's going on there. There are other stuff that you need to know. So from the right hand side of the landing bay, so if you go to, whilst on the landing bay, go up the central column and then head to the right port, or just head up the right ramp from the landing bay, you'll get into a sort of area where you've got a few shops. Now these shops will consist of the chef, which basically you give him some of the food that you've worked up. And if he likes it, he gives you a couple of nanites. It's not very much at all. I mean, the topmost nanites you can get is 40 nanites, I believe. But no, don't rely on this as a source of nanites. As I said, harvest platinum and then throw that into the refiner to get 1023 nanites when that's when that's full. So, and yeah, if you find a wealthy enough system, you can probably just buy up about 6,000 nanites straight off the back from a good shop, and that will give you what you need. I think the ratio is 5 platinum to 1 nanite. There is a more complex recipe for nanites, which is platinum, gold, and silver, which will give you nanites very fast, but the conversion rate is terrible. We're looking at 250 each, 250 platinum, 250 gold, 250 silver for just 1 nanite. And no, so do not use that. Just fill it up with pure platinum, and that is like a conversion rate of 1 to 5. I think, yeah, I'm sure it was 1 to 5. So, and maybe a little bit slower, but the best way to use it. Don't consider this chef here as a means of getting nanites, because it's not worth it in the end. When the most important thing here is time, your time. What do you want to be doing? Do you want to be scavenging around bins, or do you want to be making food just for a small amount here? Or do you want to be building bases, fighting aliens, and saving the universe and exploring? I know what I'd rather be doing. Yeah. Next up to these, there are 2 other shops. One of these shops will give you some nanites for experience. I mean, it's good to go there, just to clamper on there. And also, it will offer you a daily trade for something that's valuable, something like vortex cubes, or gravity balls, or storm gems, for another couple of nanites. And again, at this conversion rate, it's just not really worth it. It might be okay if you just happen to have them on you. You say, yeah, go on, give them. But if you go up to this and say, right, today I need gravity balls, then you'll need to go around to high sentinel areas to try and see if you can find as many gravity balls as you can get, fight off swarms of sentinels, to come back just to give you like 10 nanites. I think, nah, yeah. So it's okay if you've got the stuff on you. If not, don't worry about it. And I think the other one just gives you stuff for planets that you've uploaded, planets that you've registered as well. So if you've registered more and more planets, just go to him and he'll give you a couple of nanites for the data you've collected. You can only do this like once a day, but it keeps the data from your history. So it's not like only the planets you've done that day. It's you can put in your data from that day. Okay, I think I got that right. I guess up through in the game from the Nexus, from the launch platform, up from the central aisle, as I said, was the blueprint area. So go straight up the center and straight across over the crossroads. You'll go into the blueprint center, where loads of people will be able to give you data for nanites, for salvage data, and so on and so forth. It's a good idea to check this area out, see what you're missing, and see if there's anything good. Now, again, for things like the construction area, for the construction site, I also recommend making sure pressing R1 and L1 to scroll between them, because it's not obvious at first. You'll come up with the construction site and you'll see, right, you've got this base element here. But what you don't see straight off is if you press R1, then you go on to the next page, which is like all metal items. R1 again goes concrete items. R1 again which is technical update specialists and so on. So don't forget to press those. Right, also after that, again from the central area up and to the left. I'm just trying to see if I remember if I'm getting these right now with the actual areas, because I know in one area you also have like a portal or a hyperspace portal, which worked a little bit different from what you normally from when you normally use a portal. Because when you normally use a portal from the space station or your home bases, you just got like a list of all different places that you've been to before. This puts it out in a little bit more graphically. It gives you some details on each site, which I think is how it should be. It looks more impressive than what we've got on from the other portals, from the other sites so far. So I think as time goes forward and the update patches go forward, the graphics from the other portals will start working like this portal. And a final area that you've got in the Nixus is basically the priest and his assistant, which will, when you talk to them, they will guide you through to like the next Atlas point, black hole or such. So if you need to, if you're following those storylines, or you're following those routes or missions, that's where you go to make sure you get you can get to the next point, rather than to have to keep on going to find an anomaly. And if you can't find an anomaly, just bring in the anomaly and then ask for the next waypoint for the next Atlas station. Sorry, when I said anomaly previously, I meant Atlas station. But yeah, they will help you guide out for that. So that is the majority of the Nixus space station. There are other people inside the space station, NPCs that you can talk to, get a load of their background and such. They will talk back to you. There are unique individuals, i.e. they're not like the normal NPCs that you see on the standard space stations. Each one's got like a personal storyline to them, a bit of a background to them, why they're there. Like this guy is worried about the fact that Sentinels keep chasing around, so therefore he's hiding on the anomaly. Another person is like a pair that talks about weird different stuff and so on. So yeah, there's quite a vast, diverse range of characters that you can get to talk to get to use to explore and just review their backstories and have fun. Okay, now I think I might have to push this on because I think I can hear the Hoovers coming. So let's see, what else have we talked about? We haven't talked much about farming yet. Now, the farming is another thing that has been added to No Man's Sky beyond 2.0. The farming, you will get... Let me see, I'm trying to think the best way to word this. Okay, with the farming, you have all the creatures in the universe now have got what's called bait expectation. So if you look at, if you scan a creature, it will come up with required bait, and such like scented herbs or minced up meat. Now, from your you can create a portable table which will allow you nutrients table, which is another thing that you'll need to get, another blueprint that you'll need to get from the space station. The nutrients table will allow you to mix up certain raw ingredients which have also now been added in, such as if you kill certain animals, you'll get bits of legs dropped or meat dropped, or you can harvest certain vegetables, new vegetables that have been added in procedurally, and those will be added in as ingredients. Now the table, not the table, the nutrients table has also got its own internal ingredients inventory. So you don't need to worry about where can I store all this stuff. It is limited, but I reckon you can only put in ingredients. Well, one thing that I have noticed, I think this is another bug that's on my system at the moment. one important ingredient, especially for a lot of the meat eater stuff, is mordite. Now, mordite is an ingredient that you need to create bait called minced meat or mixed up meat. Unfortunately, mordite doesn't want to be seen as an ingredient yet, which I believe is a bug on the system, and hopefully they'll be able to correct that. And once they've corrected that, you can start using mordite with the system. But at the moment, there's still a whole load of other stuff that you can do. I do have a list. I'll put a little graph up here so you can actually see what sort of items you can use to make the type of baits you need. Now, when you use these baits, you've got two types of baits. You have got the food pellets, which basically gathers all the creatures around and make them happy and curious, but it doesn't tame them. However, once you create one of these from the stable, it will make them tamed. And once they're tamed, you can either milk them or you can ride them, mount them. Mounting is a bit like mounting the pigs from Minecraft World. So you just sit on the back of them and you just wander around. You have some slight control over where they go, but be careful that they don't accidentally drive themselves off a cliff, which has happened at some point. But yeah, they are, so once you've fed them the proper bait that's associated to them, they will then be tamed, and then you can do mounting or milking. Now, onto the farming section. You've been primed with that knowledge. Onto the farming section. At your base, you can build two devices. These two devices, you would also need to get the blueprints from the Nixus as well. One of these devices is the automatic feeder, which if you put in the associated bait that's needed for nearby animals. So firstly, you've got to look around the area, look at the animals that are roaming the area and see what type of bait that they need. So that one there, he needs scented herbs. Fine, okay. So you create your automatic feeder and then put in your bait of scented herbs. It will take up to like 5 units, and over a period of I think about an hour, it will start distributing. Over a long time, it will give out all the bait. And as it goes through, you'll see that this creature has been tamed, that creature has been tamed, and ready for milking. This is where the next item comes into. The automatic farmer, I think it's called, which basically gives me a little bit of the heebie-jeebies when I kind of look at all those things pumping in and out and sort of sucking. And when I have a look at it, I discover that it's actually a milking machine for aliens. Yeah, I don't really want to know how it's milking them, but if you watch it, you see that the animals get pulled up to the side of this thing that have been tamed. They get pulled up to the side of this thing, and after a few moments, if you check the inventory, you'll find that it has got a new fresh supply of milk in there. Yes, I am not going to ask too much of how that goes about it. I mean, the old idea of these being milked is a bit squirmish to me at the moment. Unlike that plant. I'll talk about the plant in a sec. But yeah, that's the full gist of the farming here. So once you've put down the automatic feeder, make sure you need the automated farmer so that it starts milking all the animals that your automated feeder is feeding and taming. Okay, and I think that is pretty much all that we need to talk to about. But there's still one last thing that I just wanted to get off my chest that I'd noticed. Now, when the animals are being fed, after they've been fed, they do their business on the carpet or on the floor or such. And when you have a look at it, it's or when you mine it, if you mine the its drop-ins, so to speak, it comes up with an element called Fecium. Fecium, I'm sure many of you have noticed that the word Fecium is another word for shit. Now, I do apologise, this is where I'm going to get demonetised around here. So, yeah, we are practically mining shit here. And also another thing that I noticed was a particular plant that has also changed its name to actually, well, not its name, but it's, you can harvest Fecium from this plant as well. So so in essence, this is called a shit plant. So have you ever heard me refer to a shit plant? It's this red plant that I'm talking about, because it gives you Fecium. Yay, great name, Fecium. Okay, but for a lot of the stuff that you need to craft, for a lot of the stuff that you need to produce, you need to add Fecium. So when you're crafting, or when I'm saying crafting, I'm more or less mean using the nutrients table or the nutrients machine to create bait. The bait machine, you need to put in a lot of Fecium into it. Or alternatively, if you rub a little bit of fecal matter into some gold, it turns into nanites. Or no, if you rub some, I can't remember what it was, but I think if you rub a little bit of fecal matter into some slime or some ooze, then that turns it into gold. Yeah, so these animals literally shit gold. So if we've got like if we've got a duck, could it be my golden goose then? Because if I find Fecium into I think it is ooze or something. I'll have to double check. Let me see, what is it? I'm just going to check. Do apologise about this. Yeah, if you run Fecium into Pugnum, Pugneum, it turns into gold. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so if you rub Fecium into Pugnum, it turns into gold. Yay! Golden shit! We just need that, don't we? Cool. Right, well, I think that is pretty much everything on No Man's Sky Beyond 2.0 update. I think we've talked a little bit about everything, a little bit of tips, a little bit of advice there. If there is anything that you need to know, just ask and I'll see if I can give you any advice that you need. Anything more you want to know or any more videos, please check them out, please ask. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed watching this as much as I've enjoyed in creating this. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys out there.